thanks for having me here today. I have been really excited to be here for a number of reasons. I'm a wine consumer. For my 30th birthday, which was about 10 years ago now, my family chipped in and got me my first wine club. It's a great gift. My aunt and uncle own an inn in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which they've owned for about 20 years, and I've had a lot of exposure to how the wine business has been changing there in Canada. And if I'm honest, I have a 3-month-old at home, and I slept 9 hours last night. And if nothing else happens good today, this is the best day I've had in about 6 months, so thank you. Thank you, Brian, for the great introduction on Food 52. I'm going to delve in a little bit more about us, just because I think some background will really help you understand why I think the way we're doing content marketing would help you grow your own brands. Food 52 was started by 2 women from the New York Times. I'm making the leap or assumption that being in the wine business, many of you are home cooks, or at least enjoy eating. So if nothing else, you have a new website to get some ideas from. But we were started in 2009 because we didn't feel like there was anywhere on the web that was harnessing the power of the internet to give home cooks a voice in the food conversation. There were, and still are, a lot of great publications, Food and Wine, Bon App, Savour, that use the internet as a delivery mechanism of their content. There were some great recipe databases, but they weren't curated, they weren't aspiring, you couldn't really trust them. Anybody could sort of dump in a recipe and you may find a good nugget, but the onus was on you to sort of go through and find all of that. So we set out to create that, to be sort of a one-stop shop for everything in your cooking and home entertaining life. If you take a look at this screenshot here of a nice dinner before Food 52, you have a candle from Target, you have some plates that maybe you got as a hand-me-down from your mom or your dad, some napkins that you bought at Crate & Barrel, a spaghetti plan that you got at Williams-Sonoma, a recipe from Food Network. It was a really fragmented experience. So you were going on the web and or going in person to stores and having to go to a bunch of different places to bring your table together. Now with Food 52, as I'll explain in a minute, that's all available for you in one place. We have recipes that are crowdsourced, that are bringing the best ideas from what people are doing in their house day in and day out to the front, but they're curated and they're tested by us, so they're a trusted resource for you. We sell things. We have a shop that I keep calling Provisions because that's our name, but as of February 1st, it's being debranded, so don't tell anyone that I said Provisions. It's just our shop. It's the Food 52 shop. We've had a branding challenge, but you can buy really unique curated items like a salt cellar, hand-blown glasses, and the other unique thing about Food 52 is because it's all community-based, you can find out how other people are using and doing things in their own homes. Our content model is a little different. For those of you that know the site, or those of you that will hopefully take a look at it after, you may not realize when you're on the homepage that up to 70% of the articles there are actually created by our community. We're fiercely protective of our brand, and to us, our brand is very image-based. We have the New York Times heritage, so I guess that's all I need to say. We have the New York Times heritage, so we put a lot of value in our image. But if you're on the homepage, like I said, up to 70% of the articles are actually, Kathy, who's in the room, this is one of hers, created by our community. So we have an editorial staff who day in and day out are writing articles, but they're also going to our community and uncovering people and saying, oh wow, this person has an interesting perspective on gluten-free baking. This person has a great blog on breakfast. This person is an expert wine writer. And we're nurturing relationships with those people and giving them a chance to use Food 52 as a place to further their voice. We have a recipe database of about 30,000 recipes. 98% of those are actually created by the community. So what we're doing is going in and mining all the recipes that are submitted and looking for interesting techniques. We're not, all about sous videing and complex cooking. Our most popular recipe is still a cookie, but we are about interesting ways of doing things. So there's a tart called a lazy lemon tart, Mary's lazy lemon tart. And the interesting thing is you take the whole lemon, rind, seed, everything, and pulverize it in the Cuisinart and use the whole thing as the base for the recipe. Sounds strange, it's delicious. It's amazing. So it's about finding the interesting ways that people are using ingredients in their homes. Our curated layout is such, like I said, we have these editors that are working to write articles, but what they're doing is trying to find other people to write articles for us. So we're curating an experience and tapping into the network of people who are doing interesting things in their kitchens and their homes. So if you look at this as an article by one of our founders, it's pretty big there. On the bottom, we're giving you a lot of related content opportunities. So that includes places to purchase things that we may have used in the photography. We sell the glasses, we sell the cookware, other relevant articles, and then seasonal themes. So if you like strawberries, maybe you'll like this article, which is about using strawberry tops in your water, which has anyone ever done that? It's my favorite way to reuse strawberry tops. So you're cooking and you save all your strawberry tops in a bowl, and you've had cucumber water or lemon water or lime water. You just put the strawberry tops in water and then strain them through, and you get this lovely, refreshing strawberry water. Mixes well with Prosecco and champagne as well, I might add, of which I've been having much more of in the past 3.5 months. So at the end of the day, if you're a consumer and you come to Food 52, you're getting a really trusted experience. We're still giving credit to the original person who wrote the recipe, but we're reshooting the photography to sort of bring it up to, not our standards, but just to make it beautiful and to inspire you to do things at home. Our algorithm works such that recipes that we've tested or added a head note to, or articles that we've put our footprint on, bubble up to the top. So you can still get to the back or to ones we haven't yet found. But when you're doing a search, the ones that we think are great and we think are going to be useful to you are going to come up to the top. And the final piece, which I've teased a little bit of Food 52, is our shop, just our shop, not provisions, our kitchen and home shop. And if Food 52 was created because we didn't think there was a place for home cooks and entertainers to talk about what they were doing in the kitchen and what they were doing when they were entertaining, our shop was created as a place for small merchants to sell. So this isn't a replication of Amazon or even Etsy per se, but instead it's a salt cellar in Portland, Oregon, or a woman in Boston, Massachusetts who makes napkins at night for fun because it's her sort of dream job outside of her day job. And the items that we sell here are not meant to be things that you can find everywhere. In fact, up to 50% of the products people are custom producing just for us. So we're saying, we like this steak knife, but I've always wanted one with a little bit of a different grip, and they're sending us prototypes, and they're building products just to sell to us. And it's working really well. It's about 2/3 of our revenue comes through our shop. And it's telling us, which I think is beneficial for you guys, that people are after a curated experience. We used to all walk down a street or go to a store where we would trust in person, the buyers or whomever to put out interesting products. And then the web became a place where you could get things easy and fast, and we all got excited about that, and Amazon's great. I'm the biggest Amazon Prime member there is ever, I think. I get like 2 to 5 boxes a day and sort of know that I'm going to green hell for all the breaking down of things that I do. But I live in New York, and I have 2 kids, and it's okay. But the Food 52 experience for the shop is about giving people who wouldn't necessarily have an opportunity to go mass market within the Food 52 a place to do that and sell. So that was a lot about me and Food 52. I had plans to, I went to business school in 2003, right when PowerPoint animation was at its peak, and I had plans for this wine bottle to fly in. It's gonna be my big animation technique and wow you all, and now we're in PDF. So that was I tried. So what does this mean for you guys? Obviously, digital content matters, but there's so many platforms, and there's a never-ending amount of places to push your content. There's a never-ending amount of places to get your content. And I really think it's about marketing content effectively, whether it's content you create or content that you get yourself. As an aside, I have a food blog, Lauren Living Locally. I like alliteration. My name's Lauren Locke, so I use L's wherever I can. I have a food blog. I had been in sales and PR for about 10 years and an avid home cook, an eater and drinker, and was trying to break into the food media world, the growing food media world in New York, of which there's many publications. And I think I'm a pretty good salesperson, and I networked, and I got interviews, and I got into a couple of food media publishers, and I would make it to the last round of the interview. It would be me versus, the safe hire from the competitor magazine, and I wouldn't get the job. Okay. Happened 3 times. At one publication, they actually brought me back a year later and said, oh, we really liked you, but we went with Joe, but this time it's gonna be you. So I'm, barely prepared, all confident, didn't get the job. So I decided to start a blog. I knew about Food 52, and I thought, if I take a year and commit myself to writing a blog about food, which I'm talking and doing all the time anyway, the next time I have an interview, I can say, hey, look here. I'm a salesperson, but this is the content I've created that's relevant to you. So a year and a half went by. I was blogging about my CSA, my community-sponsored agriculture delivery. Food blogs, by the way, of all the blogs, are the hardest, I think, to do well, right? Because you can't just walk outside and take a picture and write about it. You have to plan, you have to pick a recipe, the photography's hard, there's more investment in time and money to get everything together, to then not eat it after you cook it and take a pretty picture of it. My husband calls this the year and a half of eating cold food. But anyway, and so I was going about my business doing that and tweeting and using the social media, tweeting at Food 52 often and other platforms and retweeting things. And sure enough, Food 52 posted a job. I later learned I was the first person to apply by like 8 minutes, which is so scary and stalkerish, but it worked out. Because it popped up and my cover letter took like 3 minutes to write. It was like, here are the times we've tweeted at each other. I'm great at sales. Here's my blog. When do you want to talk? And I got the job. So I marketed myself effectively. I created content to get where I wanted to go. So that hopefully lends a little credibility to me about content marketing. So the takeaways that we're going to go through today for you guys are 4. Find out why people are leaving your site. Make informed, consistent platform choices. Find occasions or partners you can leverage. And make content marketing a job responsibility and incentivize it. I had to have one slide with just bullets. You can email me after if you want any other information. Can everyone hear me okay, by the way? Thanks. So, you say goodbye, I say hello. First impressions matter, sure, especially at a website, but I think that a lot of, there's a missed opportunity to not dig into why people are actually leaving your site. In preparing for the conference and talking to Barbara and Jeremy and a bunch of other people, I know there's different sized wineries here, but my understanding and from attending the sessions yesterday, you're using Google Analytics, you're tracking your data, you have a good understanding of how to get this information. But I think there's an opportunity to look at why people are leaving, because leaving can be a perfectly good thing. At Food 52, if someone searches for long tail recipe search, pork butt tacos, and they get to our site and they find a recipe and they leave, that was great. They went through Google, they were looking for a recipe, they printed it or saved it, and they left. Great experience. But sometimes you can look at exit pages and it will tell you a story of what maybe is missing from your site. So this is a snapshot of some data from Food 52 of some referral partners that we have. If you look at the 3 arrows, the bounce rates, and you guys are all familiar with bounce rates, the page that people leave, the 73s are in the higher. So we took some time to sort of look at these 73s and figure out, were these bad partners for us potentially? Is that, one of them I think is like Yahoo, or I know is Yahoo. So someone comes from Yahoo, they're referred. We give a lot of our content to free to trusted partners because we think it's a nice way to get the word out about us, right? We're creating this content and our site's great, but if you can't get it elsewhere, we're not gonna get as many people into the front door of our website. We decided if someone's coming from Yahoo, that's a big top of the funnel entry point, and they leave 73% of the time, it's not so terrible, right? But one of these other 73s was actually from another food partner. We'd think if you were coming from another food site to our site, if you're still leaving, maybe you're not the right food media consumer for us. So we're gonna invest less time in that relationship because we're saying we thought this would do well, but it's not. On the flip side, if you look, there's a little purple arrow, average session time. There's an outlier here. There's one partner where we're getting 3 minutes average time spent on site. So the rest of our average is about a little under 2 minutes. But this partner we're investing more in because their bounce rate's low, but people are spending more time. They're stickier. They're reading more. they're getting to the bottom of the article. That has implications for both, what I do, advertising, they're seeing more ads, but they're also obviously getting a better experience, and they're more likely to come back because they've started to read an article or started to read a recipe and gotten to the bottom of it or stayed on the page. So instead of just thinking about how people get to your site, diving in and seeing why they leave can help you make some informed choices about who you partner with. Another thing we did at Food 52 recently is create something called topic pages. So internal search, I think, is a goldmine, right? It's sort of a live focus group of what people are doing on your site at that moment. And people search for two reasons. They search because they can't find easily the information they want. So that could be like directions, right? It's not in the main nav and they're searching for directions. Or they can't find a topic. And I think mining internal search can tell you a lot of your entry pages, what's not obvious. It's telling you what people are looking for that they can't find. And people are fine searching, we all search. But every time you search, you lose a little credibility, right? It's like one more friction point between the person getting the information that they want. They've had to take the time, it's not obvious to them. So by mining your internal search, you'll if you bucket things and look at your trends, and it takes a little bit of time because people spell things differently and you have to go back 100 keywords, but you can put things in buckets and sort of get some information about what's missing. So we were mining our internal search and noticed a lot of people were searching for cocktails. We have a lot of cocktail recipes, right? But they're named by their ingredients. Or the column is booze 52, because we always use the 52. But we didn't have a grouping just for the word cocktail. It seems silly, but people were looking for cocktail content and having to go one by one to different pages and not getting a whole... They were having to do the work to find the content we already created. So why not spend the time to create a page that gives them everything? So we created something called sponsored topic pages, which are groupings, greater headers of information that we noticed people were searching. So there's weeknight cooking. We have tons of weeknight cooking, but we're not calling it weeknight cooking. It's not, onion pasta for Tuesday. It's just onion pasta. But we happen to know in our minds it's a good weeknight recipe because it doesn't take very long, can throw it together, and the whole family will like it. So by spending some time looking at our internal search, we came up actually with a new product, which is our topic pages, to give people easier access to the information that we had, but they couldn't quite find. Another thing we did, our videos perform really well, and I'm sure a lot of you know Google highly rewards you for videos. I'm sure because they have YouTube and they want the ad revenue. But in the search algorithms, if you have video content on your site, you'll show up higher. It's a key trigger in their search algorithm. But videos are really expensive to produce, which I'll get to in a second. So we created a videos page because we had all these videos, but they were related to specific things. An interesting technique for making scrambled eggs, or breaking down a side of beef, and they were living within their beef or egg or food occasion topic, and there wasn't a place where all video could live, so we created a video page. Seems silly, but it turns out, especially the younger consumers, are most interested in consuming content in a video way, and now we have a place where they can go and see all of our video content. Back to internal search. This is an interesting example, and I'm sorry it's a little small. I call it the quinoa conundrum. We were mining, our search terms are very seasonal, right? So when ingredients are in season, people are searching for them, with the exception of chicken and kale. So if you're trying to get more foodies on your site, just put chicken and kale up and they will follow. I mean, I love chicken, I love kale, but wow, people love chicken and kale. So always kale all the time. But then, we did a roundup, actually, of the year's best recipes this year. And in the comments, so much kale. Why are you always talking? 4 of your 10 recipes talk about kale. So I don't know. Can't make everyone happy all the time. But they really do like kale. But anyhow, we were mining our data, and we noticed quinoa kept popping up. This was in June of 2013. So ancient grains are all coming more mainstream, right? The fricas and all of that. But quinoa was popping up. And it was in our top 10, right? For this month of data, it was actually the number 4 most searched term in June. Interesting, right? I mean, I think of June as high seasonal produce season. So I'm surprised that a grain and a non-seasonally relevant ingredient was so high. If you went to the site then and searched for quinoa, not so many quinoa recipes. So this was a place where people were looking for information on a topic. They were telling us. We went to our data and said, what are they looking for? We went from the outside, searched for quinoa. They aren't getting that much. Not great. So I went to Bob's Red Mill in Portland, Oregon. I knew from my own research, they were doing their ancient grains, the 7 ancient grains. There was a big marketing focus for them, quinoa being one, and said, we need more quinoa content. And I think you would benefit from tapping into the Food 52 community of interesting, like-minded home cooks and finding out what they're doing with quinoa. So they sponsored a recipe contest. We have recipe contests twice a month. They sponsored your best quinoa recipe. It's a month-long engagement. They got great social exposure. There's a submission period. There's a voting period. We tweeted each of those phases with their handle. We did a Q&A with the winner. Look, Bob's Red Mill. Went to the Food 52 community, and we upped our quinoa content by over 100 recipes in a month. Great for us. Great for them. They're getting in front of known people who use products like theirs at the right time, and they're searching for quinoa, and they're going to see the Bob's Red Mill branding. And more interestingly enough, from a content perspective, Bob's Red Mill at the time, I think, had 3,500 recipes in their database, which is pretty big. They got 7 recipes from us, the top 7 recipes, and the beautiful photography to accompany it. And the winning recipe was a quinoa cookie. How cool. Bob's had never seen quinoa used in a sweet fashion. So we got quinoa content, they got quinoa content, but we all found out that people are using quinoa in unexpected ways. It's not just with chicken and kale on top. It is, it is in a cookie, and the cookies are delicious, and I've made them a number of times. But it was a great story for us because we used internal search. It was a great partnership because Bob's is a great like-minded brand, but it also further proved the Food 52 directive when we started, which was find out what people are doing in their kitchen. Don't tell them what to do in their kitchen, right? How are people using ingredients? How are they using your product? And listen to them, and if you give them a chance to tell you, you'll find out interesting things. One of the Food 52 investors, full disclosure, is a founder of Uproot Wines, which is an online-only winery. So I know a little bit about them. And I was talking via our PR girl to them about this presentation, and we know they've sponsored some of our events, what they're doing, but I think what they're doing is pretty interesting because they don't have the opportunity that a lot of you do to have a great experience at a winery, right? And to turn a consumer in the tasting room. They only market online, but they spend a lot of time doing specific trade show activations and event activations, and that's the only place where they're face-to-face with their consumer. So they've made a really strategic decision. They have an iPad that their different salespeople bring to their events. And if you come to their website directly and sign up, they put you in one marketing bucket, right? You've taken the initiative to come to their site through Google or through word of mouth, so they're gonna treat you one way. If they've met you at an event where it's a little bit more happenstance and maybe you didn't even know that they were gonna meet this brand, they put you in a different bucket and they message to you differently. And just spending some time to think about, and I think they do a good job of it, how people got to your site. These are both people who got to Uproot online, right? An iPad or the web. It's an online-only winery, but it's a different experience for someone who's introduced to you via the salesperson or the marketing person in person than it is someone who directly writes in. So their marketing and communications are completely different for those two channels. And when someone makes a trigger and joins and buys, they get put into a larger bucket. But these email addresses of people who they've met more casually, they're marketing to differently. They also spend a lot of time and money, which we don't all have, but on their collateral, because they don't have that wine room experience to lend on. So they have beautiful collateral that they hand out in person. The coasters I use, they're like a hard copy stock. But segmenting people based on where they've been introduced to you can be really beneficial. This is a screenshot of the Food 52 holiday market. So we're online, but every year in December, we have a holiday market in the city where we bring Food 52 to life. And it's really fun for us because we get to meet I should mention, if you're on Food 52, you can consume it unabashedly, but you can also set up a profile and have like a username. So it's a funny place because you meet people, you're like, oh, the baking lady, you know, and you these people that you only know their screen names, sort of like old AOL style, you get to meet in person. But so our holiday market's a really important venue for us because it's one of the only times we get a chance to meet our consumers face to face and invite them and talk to them. So we launched our splash page. We're all about our imagery. We're proud of the photography. In our office, we have 2 test kitchens and 5 to 6 shoots a week. Sometimes upwards of 12 recipes being shot a day. I've had to start walking from Grand Central to our office because it's like the Food 52 25, not even 15, because there's constantly food out. It's great. Again, it's cold, but we have a microwave. So this is an example of being flexible. And so we launched our splash page, our launch page for the holiday market. And if you can imagine just that image on the top. And we sent out an email to all of our New York subscribers. We did a little PR push. We sort of sat back like, ooh, people are going to start signing up for classes. We did this last year. We are amazing. 12 people signed up. Not good. Turns out, we're so obsessed with ourselves and our own imagery that the landing page actually, which I didn't update my copy even though I told Jeremy I would, but was just the image, and you had to scroll down to get to any of the information about the class. Silly thing, right? We love our images. We were like, we're gonna throw this front and center. It's our brand is our image, people know our brand, people know. And so no one knew that there was even more information. It just sort of looked like this static page. So we had to resize the page and resend it, and we sold out, blah, blah, blah. But taking the time to figure out why it didn't go well and stepping outside of your brand for a second and saying, okay, I'm a consumer and I get here, what's next? We were used to scrolling and not everyone else is. The other thing we learned at our pop-up, the main point of it, aside from meeting people, and we have flower demo classes, wine pairings, a cocktail class, there's a lot of fun things that people do, but is for people to touch and feel our products. So we're an online-only shop, and sometimes there's a barrier to entry because people are spending a little bit of a higher price point and they want to see it and hold it and touch it. So it's a chance for people to do that. And we sold out of, I think, 93% of our products this past time, so it does well. But we realized afterwards, there's a lot of people who come in, and maybe we don't have all of, I think we have 3,000 products, so obviously they're not all available at the pop-up. We have to skew down and just pick some ones that we think are going to do well for the holiday period. But there was tons of people who took the time to come down to the Bowery in New York and get on the subway in the cold and walk through our shop and not buy anything. And that's okay, right? But we realized after the fact, why aren't they've raised their hand. They've said, hi, I'm here. I like your brand. I got in the subway. It's snowing. I put my snow boots on. I wanted to see what you were doing. And maybe I didn't buy anything because the product I was looking for wasn't there. Or maybe I'm buying gifts for someone somewhere else and I actually want to buy it online to ship it. But we didn't do anything to give them an opportunity to be a better consumer of ours. So midway through the pop-up, one of our designers went and printed out little cards that said, thanks for stopping by. Here is a promotion code that you can use online for free shipping. We missed 2.5 days of people coming in and out of our shop didn't get that, but this way, the people that did tell us they were interested and maybe didn't buy anything, but that's not a bad experience, had an incentive to go online when they got home and take a look at our site there. Making informed platform choices. So I talked a little bit before about how many different places there are. This is a snapshot of some of our social and content partners. The green arrows, number 3, mobile Facebook, and number 6, Facebook, desktop Facebook. Mobile Facebook's doing better. Great. Let's invest in mobile. Wait a second. Look at the time on site. Mobile Facebook, 1:31. Desktop Facebook, 3 minutes. So the people, even though there's less of them that are coming to us via the desktop Facebook, are spending more time on our site. So this little finding changed the way that we're marketing on Facebook. We know that mobile is very image-based. People want to like, share, scroll, move on. But we know on desktop Facebook, they're more likely to comment. So we're doing more quizzes, and we're trying to activate our desktop Facebook users more than our mobile Facebook users, because when we look at them apples to apples, the desktop person is more valuable to us. They're spending more time on our site. I should note that we're a 5-year-old company, but until about 5 months ago, social was a shared job. We didn't have a social media manager. We do now, which is lovely. But we were effectively using the social channels, which I'll get to in a couple of slides, by giving different people responsibilities across the social channels and incentivizing people within our organization to share without paying anyone to be a social media manager. It's easier now, for sure, but we also got $6 million in funding, so there was a lot of work getting there. More isn't always more. So video. I talked about how we know our consumers like consuming video content, about how Google rewards video content. So Vine popped up. We were like, we are all over this. This is gonna here we go. We're gonna blow Vine out of the water. And put up a bunch of Vine videos, and it really didn't work well for us. Turns out the Vine consumer is more, your high school tween population, using Vine amongst their friends, and they're not the right partner for us. So we tried it, we measured it, and it didn't work, and we stopped doing it. We will go back and look at Vine down the road, because these things are changing all the time. But more isn't always better, and choosing the right platforms that work for you and get consumers to enjoy your brand more is really the most important thing. So now we're doing a lot of Instagram videos. We do a lot of GIFs and stop motions of food and drink pairings, and they're killing it. They're actually some of our most highest performing posts on Instagram are these little 15-second videos. I think that is for a number of reasons. I like our content, and the people that follow us on Instagram do too, but Instagram videos are 15 seconds, and any of us who've worked in a corporate environment know if you see a video, even if you're super interested, if you're at work, you're like, do I put my headphones in? How long is it gonna be? It's nothing to do with my day job, who's watching me? But an Instagram video, any of us can play something on our phone for 15 seconds, even if there's noise. So it's a known amount of content consumption that there's no barrier to entry to people thinking that they can't consume it anywhere that they are. So we're upping a lot of our Instagram content now and doing more videos because they're getting the most engagement. People are liking and tagging and commenting and saying, oh, Chrissy, this is just like the drink we made last weekend, or we did a whole series with Diageo on holiday drinks. And people were, oh, go to the store and get this. We're making this at the party tonight. And people were using it as a way to communicate with each other about recipes and drinks that they were gonna pour. Consistency's huge too, and I think a lot of the people that are using social channels, at one of the sessions yesterday, I think it was Patrick was saying how he likes the millennials because they're the best place to tell you when you're doing things wrong. Like they'll sniff you out right away and be like, that's not authentic and you suck, and move on. And it's consistency, especially for a brand like ours, is super important in channels, because if we're not consistent, we have people that are creating content and submitting things, but if it's not the brand aesthetic isn't what we wanted, we start to lose our credibility. So we know Instagram's a great channel, and we're doing tons of photography, but that doesn't mean that we're creating Instagram-ready photography all the time, right? That could be a whole hour a day of just creating images that we think will do well on Instagram, and we don't have the time or capabilities to do that. But we do know that Instagram followers like our site and spend time on it. So we created something called F52grams, which is a weekly challenge we do where we ask people in the Instagram arena to gram on a topic. Everything from, this week's topic I think is clean kitchens, summer travel, oranges, cake, cookies. This is a cookie example. That's an amazing image. It was our most liked ever. But the point here is we're mining for an existing image that is our brand aesthetic, gramming it and saying, this week's challenge is cookies, show us all your holiday cookies, and then we're just regramming other photos. So we're not creating any content ourselves. We're finding content that we think aligns with our brand aesthetic, re-promoting it, which people love. It's the 15 seconds of Instagram fame. And then asking you to do the same thing, all our Instagram followers, and all day long people are gramming with F5 2grams based on the themes, and we regram our favorites. I was in New York, where I'm from, at a conference, a Martha Stewart Living conference, and I was talking to this handbag designer, little Jack Germain. She said, "You're at Food 52? You re-grammed my kitchen last week." My mom was more excited about that than when I got my bag in Barney's. And I said, "I think you should probably come work for us. Maybe the handbag thing isn't working out," but funny. So this, for you guys, you know, in your wine of the months, are you putting a little, you could create a hashtag and saying, "Where are you when you open the first bottle?" Show us a photo, use this hashtag, and we are gonna send you, you know, each month, whoever has the best photo, they're gonna get a year's free subscription to the Wine of the Month Club. Or at your winery, is there a sign up with a hashtag that says, you know, show us what you're doing, your favorite thing in the tasting room, tag 3 friends, and we're gonna give a $250 gift certificate to, you know, the person who gets the most likes. I'm speaking in a vacuum here, but there's lots of ways where you're interacting with your customers and you know that they're social, and you could just incentivize them minimally, because people do things in social for likes and shares, not because they're actually getting the gift certificate, but it just wraps it into a nice, pretty picture. And people like to be regrammed. They like to get attention from brands. There is a restaurant in New York called Terralucci e Vino that I love and I go to. And they started following me on Instagram. I don't know if it's because I'm Food 52 or my beautiful aesthetic, probably, right? They just couldn't not see what I was doing on Instagram every day. But they've started liking and tagging me a little bit more frequently, and I have been eating there more frequently. I mean, I liked it. I already went there. It was already one of my go-to places for business breakfast, but it's working, you know? So someone will say, "Oh, I want to meet near Union Square in New York." And I'm like, "Oh, we should go to Terralucci e Vino." You know, and that's just one little social media manager who's spending some time, or probably not even social media manager, restaurant manager, spending some time to find some New York small influencers. I have like 500 followers. I'm by no means changing the Instagram game, but they're getting a little bit more business each time by just being thoughtful. The rule for us in social is that it's a two-way street. There's nothing worse than following or starting to follow a brand that you then soon unfollow because they're only talking about themselves. And to be authentic and to drive followers, you really need to engage when there's really seemingly no payoff for you. I follow a brand because I like their products and think they're interesting, but I want their curated experience on the relative product set that they push, right? So we follow sort of a one-to-one-to-one rule. One piece of content about us, one piece of relevant content that someone else put out that we think is interesting, and one fun fact that has nothing to do with anything. And that simple way of looking at it is consumers sort of are okay with that because they don't feel like they're constantly being sold, and they're more likely to use your handle as a way of getting information. We're running quizzes on our Food 52 Facebook page. We're actually constantly promoting Food and Wine and Savor and some of their other articles because we're not afraid to say we're a food authority, but they're doing interesting stuff. You don't just have to read our content. You're coming to us because you want a curated view of what we think is interesting food and wine content, and this is a good article and you should read it. There's like a negative benefit for us, right? It's less page views for us. But the point is we want people who follow our social handling to think of us as a place to get information that relates to everything food, whether it's our information or someone else's. And we're not afraid to sort of be that authority, even if it means on a micro level each time losing some page views. So we've talked about why people are leaving your site. We've talked about making informed platform choices, and now we're going to talk about occasions and platforms you can leverage. I tried to get Gnarlyhead to work with Food 52. I don't know if anyone's in the audience here, but rats would have been great. But creating occasions, capitalizing on occasions creates performance, right? So here I am, I'm speaking at a conference. I'm gonna break the rules and turn off my airplane mode, my Instagram handle, which you know a restaurant in New York follows. My Instagram handle is my friends, my husband, my family follows it, my boss, some of my clients. And this is an opportunity for me right now, right? I'm speaking at a conference. It's pretty cool. Smile. Look like you really think I'm interesting. That side wasn't great. How about over here? All right. Got a smile from Brian. I'll take it. I can live, use the hashtag. Here's my view right now. What are you doing? I'm talking. This is an opportunity for me to create performance, to show what I'm doing, to show my boss I'm really doing it. I'm not just in California sleeping and drinking wine. My husband's curious. He's excited for me that I'm speaking. He's gonna get to see in real time that people aren't asleep. People who didn't know that I was talking are gonna ask me about it. I have some wine clients, I have technology clients, I have clients across everything. Occasions create performance. I'm getting the you need to hurry up, so I'm gonna go a little quicker. But Gnarlyhead, I think, does a really interesting job. They know that ribs and their wine pair well together, and they've created an entire marketing program around it where they have, I think it's in their 6th year, every year a different rib challenge, and they get people to submit recipes and they test them and they photograph them. And it's a great marketing platform, but I can also promise you that, the sticky mocha caramelized rib winner here, Sherry, is telling everyone she knows that she won this recipe, and she's becoming sort of an advocate for her brand in her own social networks. In the Partners Help Performance vein as well, the video topic which we talked about, we can't create video ourselves, it's super expensive all the time. So Mario Batali actually gives us a bunch of videos, and every Tuesday we put them up on our site. We're getting help in the search world, we're giving our consumers more video content which we know that they like, and the Mario Batali name is not a bad one. But all we did was ask. Sometimes it's simply asking. Another interesting example is Earthbound Farms. They have a really interesting blogger initiative. They relaunched their consumer website, Organic Bound, last year. And in order to do that, they decided that they were going to focus on a couple of key bloggers. So they created this hashtag, Experience Earthbound. Here's a snapshot of them, I think about 4 months ago now. These 7 women coming to Earthbound. So on the Earthbound brand handle, they're Instagramming live. This is us showing bloggers what's happening. At the same time, these bloggers are doing it themselves. Beautiful Earthbound Farm baby lettuce, natural habitat, Experience Earthbound. So they're creating an opportunity for bloggers to push their message out for them in their view, in their Instagram filter. And they're also working with these bloggers to create content. So Earthbound Farm has money, they can certainly create videos themselves, but sometimes when the brand creates the video, they get a little advertorial, right? And a little less authentic. They can be beautiful and they can plump up a YouTube channel, but if you're really trying to create video content that people connect with, sometimes asking your partners to do it gives you a little bit of a better lens of how people are using and creating your product. So all these bloggers now have a little budget where they're creating videos. This is a salad that this one blogger created, and she's pushing it out on her site. So the blogger, I promise you, is happy. She's getting a little bit of money to create some videos. It's certainly costing Earthbound less to pay her to create a video than to go to a big production house and create videos. And they're getting, I would argue, a little bit more authentic content to use on their site. We have a connection at Senses Winery, and they're doing a good job of latching on to existing movements. So they noticed that the AVA in their area uses the hashtag Sonoma Coast. By just adding the hashtag Sonoma Coast to everything that they're doing in the social spheres, every time someone looks for that hashtag, they're coming up more. So their hashtag, Senses Wine, I looked, showed up 71 times recently on its own, but the Sonoma Coast hashtag showed up over 8,000 times. So being mindful of things that are going on in your region, in your area, of existing movements that you could just authentically attach yourself to can get more eyeballs and can give you more authority. We have a partnership with Locke and create a lot of beautiful content for them. Unlike, I didn't turn off my airplane mode. Unlike a lot of publishers who are really strict about the content they produce, you can use it for 6 to 9 months, then we'll have a renewal conversation. It can only be on owned and operated. It can't be at trade shows, only online in the US. If you want to go international, there's an additional blah, blah, blah. If we create content for you, please promote it. That's our rule. It only helps us for you to for you to push out our content message. And it's not always about making money. If Locke, which they do, wants to push the content we create for them at trade shows, in their email blasts, on their website, fabulous. We're creating content because we think it's useful. We're not gonna limit anybody in their ability to use it and consume it. So the last step here, I have 2 more slides, hope you're still awake, is talking a little bit about, I mentioned, we didn't have a social media manager until this year. There's nothing worse than getting to a site and seeing a blog that's updated twice a year, right? You just go, bye-bye, not a source of information for me. On the other hand, there's nothing worse than not trying. So blogs and content are important, and you want to make sure you try it. But we think that with a little bit of structure, even without someone where it's their job responsibility, you can have great successes. So maybe there's someone who loves Twitter. Maybe there's someone who loves Instagram because their kids are on it. Or maybe you know that one of your grape harvesters is always taking cool pictures and putting them on their own handle. Deciding and making a committed effort each week or each month to give everyone one tiny job, but being diligent about it, making it a manageable job. Everyone's gonna send to social@brandwinery.com. We're gonna create this email address, 1 picture a month. It's literally part of your job responsibility, no matter where you are. It can be a picture at a restaurant that's relevant to where your winery is. It can be you drinking wine with your husband in the backyard. It can be something that's happening on the job. It can be at a pickup party. It can be anything, but having people just send you content, your own people who know your brand well, and incentivizing them to do it. So there's incentivizing people to share out, but there's also, we're gonna let whoever gets the most liked photo that month gets, the wine club for free or whatever, a gift card to a local restaurant. A lot of people in your brands are already creating content that you could effectively reuse. You just have to ask them to share it with you. And that gets around the idea of hiring someone to do it, but if you set priorities, we're gonna use Hootsuite. This is Hootsuite, it's a free tool. And every Monday morning you can schedule 10 tweets, 3 Facebook pushes, and 4 Instagram posts at different times of the day, and just be diligent about doing it every Monday for an hour. You check your social@brandwinery.com email address, there you go. You have a little bit more going on. Being creative with content is beneficial. So we at Food 52, probably because Amanda Hesser, one of our co-founders, is from the New York Times, so we have the benefit of some chefs interested in coming to our kitchen. But we will always have an iPhone out and 5 questions that we want to ask everyone, and they're not mind-blowing questions. And so Michael Roman comes in, or Alice Waters comes in, and we just ask a couple quick questions and we write an article. And it's not always about having a huge editorial calendar and lead time and planning, it's just taking advantage of every opportunity to create content. So if you're having an event at a restaurant, why not just ask the chef 3 questions in Instagram video, what were the 3 best things you heard tonight from consumers? Or what's your favorite thing to cook with this, to pair with this wine in summer? Or if you're a winery that there's lots more women in wine, why not become the authority on interesting women? Nothing to do with wine, but have 1/4 of all of your content just be uncovering interesting things that women are doing around the world, right? Businesses that they're starting, people that are having a lot of kids, anything. You could just constantly be searching for any content that has to do with women doing interesting thing and align your brand with that topic. There's a lot you could do if you sort of reflect inwards and find out the stories that you want to tell. So if you're in Healdsburg, maybe you should be deciding that once a week you're gonna find relevant content of other events that have nothing to do with wine. school plays, tastings at other wineries, interesting news articles, but being thoughtful about finding occasions and content that doesn't necessarily have to do with you, but isn't so hard to create and get, I think can really get you far. Find out why people are leaving your site. Look at your internal search. I should have said that. If you all go look at internal search, you'll get one thing that you can change or do better, I promise. Make informed, consistent platform choices. Find occasions and partners you can leverage. And make content marketing a job responsibility. That's all I got.